Hello and welcome to the Back Nine Report. Fred Altvater and I check in on the world of golf to bring you the latest news, insights, analysis, interviews, recaps, previews. Here we cover anything and everything golf. In other words, if it happened golf, we have it for you. And right now, what we're going to talk about is about the WGC Dell Technologies Championship that was played last week. But not only that, we're going to go deeper into that because is there is there an attraction for the match play? What are their biggest takeaways from it? But first, Fred, hi, how are you?
Hey, Carlos, I'm fantastic. You talking about the match play. I really kind of got involved in that. I was into it this year, I think more than I ever have. I watched it almost every day from the first round on Wednesday all the way through to the finals on Sunday. I found it really interesting and intriguing, and I thought we learned quite a bit from it, actually. How about you?
Oh, I did too. I mean, it's such a unique type of format, right? Unfortunately, we only have once a year we play here on the PGA Tour, and that's something that we're going to be talking about whether it should be more. But got to hand off to Billy Horschel. I mean, he definitely grinded out and beat Scotty Scheffler, who was the giant slayer. I mean, Scotty Scheffler, if you would think about it, I mean, that demeanor that he had all week, it was like he was unflappable. Nothing was passing by him. And I actually, Fred, I thought after he beat Kush, after beating Sander Schauffele, then he beat Ian Poulter, and then he beat John Ram. Now he beats Matt Kuchar. I mean, those were four big rides to take down, four veterans, good match
two
play
two or
players.
three of the best match players ever. Sergio and
Definitely,
Kuchar.
definitely. I mean, Matt Kuchar needed our inspiration because we talked down on him.
Yeah.
We said, "There's no way. I mean, he's out.
He
He's
said, I'm
not."
going to show those guys.
Yeah, you'll see, Fred Carlos. You don't know what you're talking about. But anyway, it was Billy Horschel, definitely 2-1 over Scotty Scheffler. Then the third place match, it was Matt Kuchar beating Victor Perez, 2-1 as well. On the group stage, I mean, a lot of surprises. It looked really like March Madness. Definitely, because a lot of the top players, but what a lot of people don't understand is that match play is not stroke play. Just because you are the best in the world at stroke play doesn't mean that you're going to be a beast playing match play, right, Fred?
Well, stroke play is over 72 holes. So you can kind of work your way into it. And over 72 holes, the better player will almost always win over a longer period. A lesser player over 18 holes can elevate his game, and maybe the player that's higher ranked maybe is having an off day or didn't get into it fast enough, and all of a sudden, oh, I'm sorry, and all of a sudden it's over. So match play is a unique animal. It's every hole is a separate little tournament in itself. So it's quite unique. But yeah, you talk about the seeding. One of the things we learned was that high seeds do not relate to wins. The low seeds were the story. John Rahm was the only number one seed to make it through round robin play. Of the 16 number ones, he was the only one. Matter of fact, the next ranked player was Tommy Fleetwood at number 21. So Rahm was the only one in the top 20 that made it through to the round of 16. And you talked about Billy Horschel. He played relatively steady, didn't seem to get ahead of himself. If he made a mistake, he just laughed it off and went on to the next shot, which is exactly what you have to do. And he displayed an amazing short game, made almost every putt inside of 10 feet. I mean, he was leaving himself these ridiculous 4 and 5. He would be trying to lag up and leave him 4 and 5 feet short. And I'm thinking, oh, he's going to miss this and lose the hole. And he would make them. He would knock them in. It was really nerve wracking though watching him. Scheffler, Carlos, you mentioned him. He did open a lot of eyes, even with his excellent performance on the Korn Ferry Tour in 2019, his Rookie of the Year season last year on the PGA Tour. He's had a very rapid ascent up the ladder, up the hierarchy. but he had to beat, as you mentioned, Poulter, Rahm, Kuchar. Two of those guys are some of the best match players ever. So, and then you mentioned Matt Kuchar, 42 years old. He had no top 30s this year. He's been in a funk, which is unusual for him because he's an ATM. He's a top 25 machine. Nearly half of his starts on the PGA Tour have resulted in top 25s. He's made so much money. It's unbelievable. So he was not playing well. He's been working on some changes with the coach, and it seemed to all come together. He was making putts. He was striping those irons, finding fairways. But to me, Carlos, and I think you agree with this, the biggest surprise for me, and I mentioned it last week that some of the people were saying that Victor Perez may do very well in this, and he did. I mean, Victor Perez took out Robert McIntyre. He took out Sergio, and before he played Horschel and Kuchar in the consolation. But Victor Perez played really well, and I expect some really big things from him.
And it's interesting because you made a comment. We were texting. If you already know us, we're texting each other during the weekend, and one of the comments that really caught my attention from what you said is like, if you look at Victor Perez playing against Billy Horschel, you wouldn't know that he was losing.
No, you would think he was winning.
Yeah, I mean, and that's how good Victor Perez was playing. He lost 3-2, but I mean, he beat Sergio Garcia, which is the best European Tour player right now in Ryder Cup, easily. And Victor doesn't have that experience. I mean, he just started in 2015. He's 28 years old, but he started in 2015 on the European Tour, and he has a 1 win. Actually, he is the defending champion at the Alfred Dunhill Links Championship because it wasn't played last year because of the pandemic. So he's going to be defending that this year. But I think that's a start in the rising for the European Tour. And but my biggest surprise along with him was Scottie Scheffler. Definitely, I didn't expect his star is born here. I think this is just the start of what is going to be a rise to the top 10 in the rankings. I expect more wins from him, and who knows? Let's talk a little bit about before we move into what I think we're going to be Ryder Cup and President's Cup implications. Which would be your biggest disappointment here in this tournament?
Rory was absolutely awful, horrid, just terrible. My biggest disappointment was Spieth. Got beat right away. He had in his first match, he really set the tone in his first match. He had the match well in hand. He was 2 up. Or he was 1 up going into the last 2 holes and hit it into the penalty area on 17, that little par 3. He threw it up there with a little bit of draw and too much. It hit on the front part of that green and rolled down over the stone wall, and then was not able to get it done on 18. That to me really set the tone for his week. He played okay, but I thought he would be better, and I really expected him, but and then his match, he was a big disappointment to me. I really wanted to see him do more, but down and out, Rory McIlroy is completely lost right to minute.
Well, I know Rory didn't pass, and he should have been the winner, but when he got gassed by Ian Poulter, and we talked about it, if somebody could beat him, that the winner, if Ian Poulter would beat Rory McIlroy, then he was not going to lose to any of the other two because that was his biggest match. And he not only beat Rory McIlroy, he just gassed him out. I mean, Rory.
Yeah, but Rory hit some stupid shots. I mean, Rory, yeah.
He was, and after that, Rory knew he wasn't going anywhere because anybody knows Ian Poulter was not going to lose any of the other two. So Rory knows. After that, he won the last one. He tied the other one. So it was a disappointment in that sense. But And with Spieth, I would say, yeah, we picked him to win. We expected more for him. And after all the big names that fell, it was like setting up for him perfectly to go out and win it. He led that one against Matt Kuchar go. I mean, he had it two up, and then to lose, it was very surprising to me. But two players really I expected more from. And those are really my disappointments. Maybe not because they didn't pass, but the way that they didn't do it. One of them is Colin Morikawa. I thought he was going to do much better. 0-2-1 is not a record for Colin. I
He
mean,
did,
I
he did not
expect
play very well. No.
the way that he's the what we have seen from him. I expected more from Colin Morikawa, and also the guy that I expected a lot was Victor Hovland. I mean, 1 and 2, and he at least he spoiled Abraham Anser's last match that made him go to that extra playoff with Kevin Strowman. But the problem that I see, I mean, Victor Hovland, a lot was expected from him, not only from me or you or anybody else that was picking him to go deep, but also his hopes to go to the Ryder Cup. I mean, if he doesn't make it on his own, this is something that has some implications moving forward for him.
Yeah, and you mentioned Ryder Cup. Let's talk about that for just 1 second here. So I that Stricker was watching this with some special interest, right? And there's no change at the top. Dustin Johnson, Bryson, Justin Thomas, Brooks, Koepka, Morikawa, and Xander. They're the automatic picks right now. They're the top 6. But Brooks is laid up. We've seen that. He's not going to be playing for a while. He could fall off relatively quickly. So then the next 6 are Patrick Reed, Tony Finau, Daniel Berger, Webb Simpson, and Horschel moves up 7 spots into that number 11 spot. And I'm going to tell you what, I don't care if he falls out of the top 6 or he's going to be on the Ryder Cup team. I think he just earned his spot by winning this thing. Then you got Patrick Cantlay and Harris English. So Scheffler also moved up 8 spots to number 14 and definitely in contention for a captain's pick. And Carlos, I don't think I would pick Scotty Scheffler, especially after the way he fell apart in that last one. There's too many things going on in his swing that can get out of touch real quick. And plus, he was playing on his home course, or a course he's very familiar with, playing collegiate golf there. So I got a question for you here. My guy Kisner was knocked out after group play by Kuchar. So here's another rant. Here's a real rant. I absolutely thought the Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, the television coverage by Golf Channel was terrible, absolutely terrible. It's the worst golf coverage I've ever seen on Golf Channel. They were missing key parts, going to commercials. It would be 3 shots and go to commercial. They did the split screen commercial. I hate that thing. It was just total commercials. I didn't time it. They had to be given 20 minutes of commercials in 60 minutes of air. It was absolutely amazing to me. So Kisner, and they didn't even show Kisner and Kuchar was the last match of the day. That's a match I really wanted to see. They showed the last hole. They didn't show any of it. They did all these knockouts because they had all these ties, and they didn't show any of Kuchar and Kisner. It blew my mind. So I'm really down on Golf Channel right now. But my guy Kisner was knocked out by Kuchar, is 18th on the Ryder Cup list. And you know how I feel about it. Kisner should be on a Ryder Cup team. They need him on there. Spieth is now down at number 22. He's moving up. He won his group, but lost to Kuchar in the round of 16. So my question, if you only had one pick and you had Scotty Scheffler, Kevin Kisner, or Jordan Spieth, who would you pick?
I think you know my answer, and that is Jordan Spieth. I think he'll make it. I think he's on the rise. He's just getting there. Like we talked about, we at least know what was going on with him. He still has some things to work on his mind, but I think he's on his way there. It's tough because, there are a couple of players that are already on the automatic that I wouldn't have on the team. I've always said I would never, and it got proved why Bryson DeChambeau should not be on the Ryder Cup. Unfortunately, he's gonna classify for it. But anyway, Kevin Kisner is definitely a master at match play, and he definitely showed why. I mean, he won and was the runner-up the previous one, and he lost to Matt Kuchar. And Matt Kuchar, we saw, was the 3rd place finisher, and he almost went there all the way with Scotty. So it's very tough right now. I wouldn't like to be in that position of who you're going to have to pick, because you're going to have to leave some very good players out in the captain's picks. But looking at the other side very quickly, Ryder Cup and President's Cup, which really is important to see because that's the other side. I know John Ram and Tommy Fleetwood were ousted, but they were still solid. Ian Poulter, Sergio, and Lee Westwood showed, hey, we're the old guys, but we can still play in this thing. You got to count on us. But then it are the up and comers like Victor Perez, Robert McIntyre. Okay, they did very, very well, especially Victor, right? They finished fourth. Antoine Rosner, Fleetwood beat him, but looked good enough to grant a deeper look. And then Victor Hovland disappointing. So it's very tough to see how they're going to be. Now, on the President's Cup side, we knew that Ansar and Neiman are keepers, but also very, very important South Africans, Dylan Fratelli and Eric Van Rijn. They look really good. Usti disappointed. So a lot of things to look at, but the one that is coming is the Ryder Cup. So I think there's plenty to see from the Europeans there.
Did you see when Dustin Johnson was getting ready to putt on 18 and McIntyre's behind him and his drive rolls up on the green? Wow. While Johnson's lining up his putt. That was hilarious. Absolutely. Only guy that drove the green all week. And because he's that big left-hander, he threw it out there with a little draw and was able to hit the slope just right and run it up on there. All those other guys ended up playing a cut, and it, because they're right-handed, it ends up down the bottom of the hill there. But that was hilarious watching that. And then we got to comment. You got to comment on Dustin and Na. What do you think about that?
Oh man, that's so tough because I saw it happening, but then again, the rules are the rule. They both could have been disqualified.
I'm watching this live, right? And I see Dustin reach over to pick that up. And I'm thinking, did Kevin tell you to pick this up? Why, what's going on? I mean, that should have been loss of hole, boom, just like that, right?
Yeah.
And Kevin let him off. I mean, he should have said, yeah, I know, yeah. But no, Dustin, I think, got half pissed off about it, to be honest with you. And then he blew it on the 18. But yeah, that was hilarious. That was probably the best part of the whole week.
No, definitely. And those are the things that really keep you watching, right? What's going on. But it also brings us to some questions about the format and about the tournament itself, the match play. Because if you see, one of the things that we have to talk about is that, of course, in 2015, they said, okay, no more with this 64, the tournament for right out. You're going to be out the single elimination
one and done.
The one and done. So they got the single elimination off, and they get the round robin to try to get those top players to be playing at least 3 times. But as we keep seeing and here, and you mentioned it, the only player in the top 10, actually in the top 20, that made it to the elimination rounds was John Ram. Other than that, it was Tommy Fleetwood. After that is from the 30 up. I mean, when you saw those rankings, you were like, is that really what the fans want to look at? Is it really attracting? Because the match play is a great format, but is it really translating into fans trying to, because are they really solving the issue? Are we going to see something different? How does TV is going to look at this and say, well, I'm not getting the top players to be here on the weekend. I mean, yeah, it was great action, but if you don't bring the big names, who's going to be watching?
And I normally do not watch a lot of the match play. I normally do not. I usually see what the scores are and who's moving on and, who's doing okay in the round robin, and then maybe pick it up on the weekend a little bit. But I watched a lot of it, as I said earlier, and really kind of got into it. And I have to say, because it was on later, I was watching the replay so I could fast forward through the commercials. I don't watch it live. So we're watching it kind of in the early evening. And so my wife got to watching it as well. And she really doesn't get that involved watching stroke play golf, but she kind of got into this because there were 2 sides and she could kind of pick one to root for. And she kind of got into it and was kind of invested in it. And so I got to thinking, does match play hold just like regular fans' attention more than stroke play? I know there's a lot of problems. Match play creates a lot of problems for television. If a match goes, somebody's killing somebody and the match is over on number 14, then they got an hour's worth of dead time on the air. What are they going to do? A match play is tied at the end and they got to go over onto extra holes. What do they do? It's not time consistent match plays. It's better. Plus, with match play, the action does move faster. They're playing twosomes. They were finishing these rounds in 2.5, 3 hours. They were zipping right along playing these things. It was pretty cool. And because most of the matches don't go the full 18, a few did, but most don't. They're over by 15 or 16 usually. And so I found it a little bit quicker. All of a sudden they're done with the front nine. You're thinking, okay, this guy's 2 up. He's only got 8 to go here, 9 to go. All he's got to get through is the next five or 6 holes. And it really held my attention. So I've not noticed that before. And I really did kind of get into it this time, Carlos. So my question, the team deal down in New Orleans, I don't really watch that much either. So, but I don't know, the Ryder Cup's become such a big deal. The President's Cup becomes such a big deal. And those are, match play situations, although they're team. Is there more? Should we see more match play events during the year? Don't know. Don't have an answer for you, but I really got into this one.
It was great action, but we saw maybe more talent and celebrity at the end of match play, right? But if you see now, like Billy Horschel and Victor Perez, for example, they were both defeated on Thursday, yet they were in Sunday semifinal. Then you have Ryan Palmer and Xander Schauffele, didn't lose a match, but they both were eliminated on Friday. Schauffele's case, of course, he had an identical record at Scheffler, winning to halves, but got out. Brian Harman lost his first round to Patrick Cantley, but contested a quarterfinal on Saturday afternoon. Cantley won 2 matches, didn't reach out the knockout stage. Abraham Ancer, same thing. While the man he beat on Thursday, Kevin Strollman, did advance. Daniel Berger, he trounced Eric Van Rooyen 6-4 the first day. And you can probably guess by now which one of them still had a tee time in the final 16. It was Eric. So the format, is it working or not? The problem is it's very complicated. That's why we always talk about the FedEx Cup playoffs on the same way. Every year is what are you going to do to make it more accessible and more interesting for the everyday fan? Your wife was into it. Does it mean also that the everyday, not that everyday fan would be able to watch? Maybe yes, maybe, but there's a lot of questions. I think there should be more because it's not that common. So fans cannot appreciate really what it's all about. I definitely love match play. Unfortunately, right now,
there's a lot of nuance too in match play that you don't have in stroke play. There's a lot going on. For anybody that's played match play, you can see it. You know what's going on, and it's like watching a baseball game. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, not just the guy with the ball. There's a lot of stuff going on. So I like I say, I kind of got into it this time for some reason.
Definitely, and hey, hopefully we can see more of this match play. But as for now, a lot of questions remain. So, Fred, final comments before we close.
Yeah, did you see Sergio's walk off of a hole-in-one in the sudden death with Lee Westwood? That was one of those most perfect hole-in-ones I've ever seen in my life. The ball landed about this far behind the hole and just dribbled right back in. It was absolutely perfect. And then first one out the next morning, Fleetwood holes it on the same hole. The pin's in a different place, but he knocks it in on the same hole. So those are very cool.
Yeah, but that's where you see, because Lee Westwood had a very good placement.
Yeah, he did.
So he was really on a birdie range
Yep.
in Sergio. But that's where you see Sergio how he is. I mean, his greatness on this type of match play. He's not phased by anything. He went flag hunting, and hey, whoa, I found the hole. So that's what really makes this so interesting, because otherwise that happens. Great, let's go to the next hole
Yeah.
in stroke play. That's the difference there. But anyway, we hope you enjoyed this, and we did enjoy the match play. A lot of questions, a lot of things can happen moving forward, but you have questions, we'll have answers. Happy to see you. Hope you enjoy us. Hope you see us again in our next segment.